So welcome everyone to our 15th episode of our Wellbeing Wednesday. We're beaming in from Sandhurst where I am and Benalla where Cynthia is. So hello Cynthia. From her, Laura Ashley bedroom. And welcome to our 15th special guest, Emma Ayliffe. So welcome. And the three of us so we'll get to you very soon, and I just wanted to point out that the three of us are who you see because we're in webinar mode, and everyone else will just be able to view us or just view one of us depending on what view you have, be it gallery or speaker view. That might make a difference depending on the device that you're on. Cynthia in a sec will give you a just a run through of all of the dashboard mechanisms. I'm not sure if you can do laptop, iPad, phone, Cynthia, to go through them all because they're all different on Zoom. But I just want to say hello, and the fact that we're pretty happy the fact that we're on to our 15th. We started getting together and interviewing awesome women from around Australia, regional, remote and rural, at the time where we went into shutdown, and we thought, what could we do? Cynthia and I have enjoyed over the many years working together at times, and we do love the whole wellbeing area, and in particular we really enjoy women, and we love lifting women. So it's great to, and Virginia Brooks just said hi all. I'm from Frankston South, which is not far from where I am, down towards the Mornington Peninsula. And so, you know, the Lights Virginia, she's been on one of our workshops. So I'm pretty busy being a home mum. Mind you, I've got an empty house. My daughter's out with neighbours. My son's got away for 2 days to Phillip Island. And my husband is in ISO lockdown in Auckland as he tries to get to Ashburton in South Island with my 92-year-old father-in-law who is at the end of his life and just went into a home yesterday. So life's a bit of a turmoil here, but it's lovely to have 1 o'clock on a Wednesday to know that we can focus in and talk about wellbeing. So Cynthia, to you, to the dashboard, and then we'll start getting better.
Hi everyone, wonderful to see you all today. We've got Sally from East Coast Tasmania, Emma from the Goldie, Queensland, Virginia is from Frankston South. I can see we've got a few frequent flyers. We've got Charlie, Donna, and we do have a few new people on this this call, which is terrific. And Emma actually said she recognised a few names in our attendee list from uni mates that she hasn't seen for a while. So welcome to you all. So just reminding you in the chat box, if you can choose the down the bottom where it says to, make sure you've selected all panelists and attendees. And we encourage you all to keep writing your comments in the chat box. Please ask questions via the chat box so that everyone can see them. We like being open and transparent here. But if you do have something in particular you want to keep a bit more private, then you can use the Q&A box, and just Louise, Emma and I will see that. We've got Lynn Strong from Jamboree. Welcome Lynn. And Lynn's, we were just talking about Lynn, that she is a wonderful mentor to young people across Australia, and she's actually given the name of Emma to Louise and I, and also Joe from last week too. And we've got Nicole from Preston in Vic too. So yeah, just our philosophy for Wellbeing Wednesday, we just want to create an environment where we can listen to our guest speakers. So Louise will ask Emma some questions for probably about 30 to 40 minutes. As we're going through, you just keep typing in your questions or your comments. If you've got resources to share, please do that as well. And then at the end of the session, in about the last sort of 10 minutes, we'll hand it over to you for other questions or comments about what you've taken away from today. So without further ado, I will hand over to Louise. But I did see a post on Instagram, Emma, about your new office, and it's very snazzy. Thanks, Amy from Tokamall. So, Louise, over to you.
Oh, thanks, Cynthia. So yes, I was going to mention the before and after photos. Emma, are you able to swivel the camera? Can we see just zoom into your life? So we've got the window and some bookshelves and photos. Beautiful. Okay. So yes, life has become, for many of us, a screen into the room of their life. And when I looked at a couple of videos of yours, Emma, I learned the fact that you kind of grew up in a station and you did the school of such and such, which you were going to fill in those blanks. Is it I was going to say School of Life, but tell us about those early days, because this is all new for us, whereas you've been doing this for a large part of your life.
Yeah, thank you. So I grew up on a sheep station, which meant that I did basically all of my primary schooling through School of the Air. I am just of the generation where we still did most of it actually with a two-way radio. We got our first computer and internet when I was in year 6. So we did some year 6 video Zooming that they used to do, which was very clunky and old, on the old dial-up internet, which would shut down the fax machine and the telephones and everything else. But yeah, no, very, very cool way to grow up.
So that's probably a good way to start. Emma, how did that then set you up for your life so far? To be disciplined, to listen in on what would be, we just wouldn't put up with that type of internet access, would we now?
I guess at that age and growing up with it always, you don't really know any better. So, that's what we did. We were homeschooled. We got up. My parents kept a pretty strict routine of we had to be at school at a certain time. We couldn't leave school before a certain time of the day. We had set breaks and kept us very structured. And it's what we knew and it's what we did. And you went to school and you did your work, and if you were well behaved enough and you got enough work done, you might be able to take a couple of weeks off at shearing and go and help muster on your horse or something fun like that as a bit of a reward, which at the time just seemed like normal life. But looking back and reflecting, it does teach you a lot of good skills. There was 3 in the classroom, 1 gubby, 3 different year groups. So, you had to learn to be a bit of a self-starter and plan and understand what you had to achieve for the day and for the week. You learned that if you did what you needed to do, you could have some time off at shearing, or, for PE that afternoon, you might be able to jump in the car and go for a swim down the dam in the summertime or something like that. So, yeah, a lot of really positive lessons learned early from that experience.
So I heard the likes of, say, routine and structure. And if we were to fast forward to now, the fact that you've got your own business, have you brought that forward, that structure and routine with the dangle of a carrot? If you get everything done, you then treat yourself?
100%. I'm an organisational freak. Just ask my business partner, Heath, if there's something that needs to get organised.
Organisational freak, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah. So definitely carry that into the business and try and have structure within our business to hold us to account, both Heath and I, in running the business, but also the people that work for us. It makes everyone's life a lot easier if they have structure and know what's expected of them. But as a business, we also run a Flexi Friday policy, which means that if on lunchtime on Friday you've got everything done for the week that you have to get done and you're not leaving a loose end, you're more than welcome to take Friday afternoon off. So that's our carrot at the other end, and it's amazing how hard you work at the start of the week to make sure that you can knock off at 2 o'clock on a Friday.
So what then do we find you doing at 2 o'clock on a Flexi Friday, Emma? What's your go-to activity?
It depends. In the summertime, my partner and I, we might go to the lake. So we're 30 k's from Lake Kajeligo, take the jet ski out. I like to pretend that I'm fit enough to wakeboard and ski. My body doesn't like it that much anymore after a few netball injuries, but doing stuff like that, or maybe just down the Lachlan River going fishing. Or my partner and I have our own farm. We've got 1,700 acres that we farm sheep and crops. So usually Friday afternoons is checking sheep and fences and doing a quick crop inspection, and eventually wind up at the local watering hole to catch up with a couple of mates and do the footy tips. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I when I did a little bit of research leading up to meeting you, Emma, I just thought, how do you fit all that in? So if that's from 2 o'clock on a Friday to eventually make it to football tippings, you do pack in a lot in your life. So let's go back a few steps. So I picked up that when you finished your schooling, or was it your schooling, or even your schooling, was it you weren't quite sure what you wanted to do, and the fact that you liked your animals, but you went to seeds because they didn't smell.
Yeah, that's my favourite joke. Sheep are stinky and they tend to step on your toes, which hurt and run away. Plants, pretty stationary, pretty harmless. Yeah. No, I just found plants so fascinating. The ability of something just to live in one spot and get everything that it needs, from a 10 centimetre radius around its trunk when you talk crops, is phenomenal. And the sort of things that they've got to protect themselves from, insects and stuff like that. Just, yeah, it really fascinated me and really drew me in. So yeah, ended up definitely enjoying that side more.
So was that before then you studied, do you actually study agronomy or to become an agronomist? Was that at the time you just decided?
Yes, so your first year of your ag degree is a bit mixed. So you do a few agronomy subjects, you do a few livestock subjects, some statistics, stuff like that. It's a pretty just generalised course. And then in second year, you can start picking a few electives based on what you're interested in. So when I was weighing up between my crop and pasture science and agronomy versus my livestock science and genetics, the stuff that was really exciting me at the end of the first year was more the agronomy side of things, and just picked more and more of those electives as I went through.
So who, was there anyone there that was influencing you along the way, like a mentor or someone who was really, cheering for you, or having a quiet word in your ear?
Not really. For me, it was just about what I enjoyed, and my parents have always been a bit like that, like, go and do what you like doing. And when we'd have those conversations, Mum, Dad just be like, oh, well, if you like doing that, do more of it. So, yeah, that's what I did.
And so that goes back to being that self-starter, the way that you learned, so you're educated. Okay, so then tell us about where does your well-being, where did that start? And, let's say your resilience, I can hear a bit of resilience coming through. So where did that start?
If we delve into like actual conscious understanding of well-being and consciously making decisions about it, it's probably really only been since we started Summit Ag, so that was 3 years ago. For anyone that started their own business, they know it's really hard work. Heath and I started just the two of us, and I was also studying a master's degree at the same time. So, you'd be up at 4 a.m. trying to get bookwork and invoicing and stuff done, in the car by 6, so you could be out checking crops, dealing with clients all day, get home, do your reports and your recs, and then about 10 o'clock after a quick feed, I'd jump into a bit of uni work. And I was doing that, 5.5, 6 days a week, and for the first summer. And like, it's hard work. Heath and I busted ourselves, and that's what we had to do to get our business to the point that we wanted it. But it also takes a toll on you, on your mental health, on your physical health. And that was really the light bulb moment of, like Heath and I both knew that we couldn't do that forever. So we had to, start thinking about, what's our long-term strategy? How do we set our business up so we're not in this position? And then for me, it was, okay, how do I look after myself better, and how do I try and integrate my life better so that I don't find myself in this position of getting up at 4:30 and going to bed at 11:30.
So what do we then see you doing, Emma? What would be, you know, some specific activity that if I had a video camera going and following you, what do you do?
For downtime in the winter,
yes.
netball. Sorry, I'm a mad netball tragic. My body hates it.
Yes.
But
You've
yeah,
got injuries.
I love. Oh, yeah. Like I said, water skiing is no good anymore because my knees and ankles are about shot. But yeah, I love my Saturday sport. I love to go and get involved in the community. I've moved a fair bit. I've found that sport is a really great way to make connection and meet new people and really involve yourself, which is, yeah, really good. So that's definitely my winter downtime. Love camping. So my partner and I have a camper trailer. His grandma's got a block on the river, like 30 k's up the road. So, you know, we might poke up there with the tinny and set the camper up and go fishing, or something as simple as sitting on the couch with a cuppa, reading a couple of chapters of a book. I'm pretty easy to please in that regard. Yeah.
That's an interesting one about the winter sport. Does it then differ for summer?
Summer's cotton season, so you don't fill in any time because you just don't know where you're going to be. I try and play like Monday night netball over summer, and I try and make it a priority to get there. But if work's busy, then you just can't. And then I try and also go to MetaFit 3 mornings a week. I find that physical activity is really, really important for my energy levels and my mental health. But same thing in the summertime. The coolest part of the day is at 6 a.m. and running around a netball court for an hour. As much as it makes me feel good, it also makes my job a lot harder at the other end. So you just got to be a bit more flexible.
And MetaFit, is that like a group
like
fitness stuff? Oh, like CrossFit, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now tell me more about like your connections and your networks. If you've moved around a lot, you know, a lot of people talk about that's really important for your well-being. How does that show up for you? How do you keep networks going?
That's a really good question. I find that when I'm not looking after myself well, that's the first thing that slips. I stop keeping in touch with people and just go into my own little bubble, which I think a lot of people do. I don't have like a big group of great mates. I've got some wonderful connections and individuals in each of the locations that I've lived, that I've got beautiful relationships with, and we all are busy people. So we don't probably keep in touch as often as we would like to, but you know, just a phone call, try and make the effort to make a phone call, or something like that, you know, maybe once a month is usually good enough, and all your socials is pretty good for keeping in touch with people.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So actually Megan's asked a question about so you're moving around and saying the sports are a great way to meet people. How else have you broadened your network when you've moved into a new place to live and work?
Just tried to put my hand up for different community groups. So things like the Cotton Growers Association, or, you know, your farming groups, or whatever interests you. I love farming, I love ag. So the minute that there's, you know, a society or something like that, I'm happy to throw my hand up and jump in, because that's what I love. But, you know, that's where you've got things like your CWA and all that sort of stuff in rural areas where you can go and start making connections, and 9 times out of 10 you'll find that people, particularly in rural areas, are more than welcoming to people.
And do you find that there are then people who don't join up? Are there those, you know, because are you the one that will always join and others don't? is there a divide, or do you find that living in more, because I'm a rural city slicker, so do you find more in remoter rural areas that everyone steps up and people are more connected?
As a generalization, yes. The problem with especially very remote communities is that it's such a small population that you've usually got the same 10 people on all the committees run by the same people, that you go and pretty sure you have a meeting every second week just to catch up. You could probably do it all in one meeting every second month and run the town. So it's that social aspect, but it just depends on the person. Like some people are natural introverts, you know, they might make friends with the neighbour over the fence or something like that, and prefer to, you know, maybe swing around, have a cup of tea or something, or a beer on a Friday night. And other people like me are a little bit hyperactive and thrive off going out and sticking our hand up and being part of whatever's going on.
So I just can feel all this energy coming through. Tell me, how's the like the nomination, these awards that you've been involved in, how does that help your well-being and your resilience?
It's a wonderful reflection point. Sometimes it's really easy to get on what I call the busy bandwagon, which I do not like. If you're busy, it means you're not being productive. So when you find yourself on that busy bandwagon, you need to recognize that as a bit of a red flag and take a step back and work out why you're not being productive. You get caught on that busy bandwagon, and so much happens and so much flies past it that sometimes it's hard to just stop and take a moment to reflect. When you get the opportunity to apply for an award, or someone nominates you, and you stop and actually go, okay, well, what have I actually managed to achieve in the last 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the period is. It is a really great moment to just stop and take a breath and go, oh, like, wow, like, you know, here I am being busy and productive and making all this wonderful stuff happen, but you know, here's this moment to actually look back and go, oh, holy moly, like, that's where I started and look at where I am now. This is amazing.
It is. And I'm just wondering, those say 20 people who are joining us, I wonder what's kind of amazing in their lives, because we don't probably stop enough and reflect and think, oh, well, you know, I have, be it participated or achieved. It's such a great opportunity. And Cynthia, just while I think about it, are there any questions already or anything that you'd like to share with us before I continue?
Yeah, so just a few comments about Nosh, volunteering helps to build your network. Jo, like she did last week, reinforced the how good it is to exercise and play sport, and just said, does anyone else play sport and exercise with others? Lots of people commenting on your office, Em. And
the before must have been a before the before photo.
But Emma, what I wanted to know is it's a very gutsy manoeuvre to start your own business at such a young age, and that takes quite a lot of courage and belief, and you know, you sound really focused. So how did you do it? How did you take that leap? I'm interested in your belief, and I'm also interested, have you got a really clear vision, or have you has it evolved?
It is a gutsy leap. I never would have done it without Heath, who I've gone into business with. He's got a couple of years more experience than what I do, and a great network, and he probably was the start of that belief system. Like, he knew full well that he could do it, and he wanted to take me with him on the journey because we worked well together, and what we were doing was exciting and fresh, and we could both see the vision and the fit for our own independent business in our district. So that's probably where it began. it was definitely a risk. It was an educated risk. We spent time, you know, doing the spreadsheets, doing the numbers, you know, what clients can we get? What do we have to do to be sustainable for year one? And then where do we need to get to, you know, year two, year three for this to be, you know, worth our time to take the risk? And then also in the back of our minds, you know, if this does fall over, what's our plan B? You know, what are we going to do? What does that look like? So it was an educated risk, but in my experience, my best ever achievements and life moments have been when I've been shitting my pants. So, so it was one of those things where, yeah, we just went, you know what, it makes sense on paper. We think we can do it. So let's have a crack. And we, yeah, never haven't looked back.
Amazing.
It's 3 years on then. So what have been the lessons when you reflect back?
You never, ever stick to budgets. So whatever you think you're going to spend for the year, add 10 or 20% onto that, because there's always little things you don't think of that pop up, or opportunities to take that have a monetary cost to them. Communication is key. All of our biggest issues have been when there's been a communication breakdown in one way, shape or form. And it doesn't matter what form of communication that is, text message, email, phone call, just communicate and be very clear and concise, and understand the people that you're working with really well, understand how they operate and how they talk. Heath knows me very well. I'm very self-aware that I can be pretty blunt at times, particularly there's a lot going on and we're under the pump. I'm a kind of short, sharp and shiny person. I'll just walk in, say this and this and walk out again. And it's about understanding you, but also understanding the people that you work with. And once you get that nailed out, people are the hardest part of any job. So.
And I like that, short and sharp and blunt and shiny. What's the shiny bit? What does that look like?
Just make sure that you're not being rude. Have a little bit of shine on it.
And the people then, you were saying that a couple that are working for 3 days a week around you, how quickly did they learn that you were short, sharp and shiny?
Really, really lucky in that I'd worked with Jemima before, so she knew me, knew how I operated, and she's a very similar communication style to me, so we work really well with each other. Steve, I knew him from a previous life as well, so same thing. He understands me and how I operate reasonably well before we started. But I'm also very open. Like, I'll tell people right from the start, like, if things come across a bit blunt, like, highlight it. Definitely point out if you're not comfortable with the way that I speak to you or whatever. But you also need to understand that when stuff's happening and we're on a roll, I will be a little bit like that, and don't take it as an offense and don't take it personally, but we're just trying to get stuff done.
Yeah, that's a great way to set up a relationship, isn't it? To know that. I love that you mentioned before about how, back to the plants, how it's amazing how is it like 10 centimetres around that plant, that's where, you know, everything. I'm wondering then, you're very self-aware. So what else are you aware about your body that when things aren't going right and you are under the pump, what else, what other signals are, you know, like if I look at some of my plants, you know, they'll be drooping because I don't water them. So, but what do you pick up that yourself when things are well and when things are going really, really well?
Yeah, so if things are going really badly, I get back on that busy bandwagon. You ask me to do something, I'll tell you I'm busy. I'm busy, I don't have time, I'm too busy. And in my head, that's the narrative that I'll run. Like, I'm so busy, shit, I'm busy, and I've got this to do and that volunteer job and this for work. And it wrecks with your head. When things are in balance, I'm productive. I'll get up early, I'll make stuff happen, I'll get the job done, and I'll be home for dinner. And that's how I operate. So that for me is the first red flag when I start that busy narrative to myself. My energy levels drop substantially, and then I start to notice things like, oh, I can't be bothered getting up at 5:30 to go to MetaFit, or oh, I really don't feel like playing netball tonight, like I won't. So those kinds of things start to drop in priority. When I am feeling well and active, I'll go, I need to make space for this in my life because this is how I clear my head. So my mentality around how that fits and where it's prioritized in my life. I will find that my eating decisions go out the window and drinking decisions. I find myself craving junk food, hot chips. Man, if I am digging into the hot chips like twice a week, whew, things are going.
How many red flags is that?
Oh, so many red flags. Like I just get so lazy. And the final straw for me is that Craig, my partner, comes home and goes, man, you're being a bitch. And that for me is like the ultimate righto. Craig and I have a very blunt relationship, so I know he means it with love, but he'll just come in and be like, I just can't deal with you right now. Like you've lost it. Go away for a while.
I mean, I think that's fabulous that you do have that type of conversation, whereas a lot of people, they don't have that communication agreement of, you know, if I say one word, you know, you get the story rather than deviating and not getting to it. So amongst all of this energy and activity, where did Yakka, how did that fit in that I saw, I think on Twitter, it looks like an app.
Yeah, so Yak is a communication platform that Heath, my business partner, and I have developed. We actually only set the wheels in motion in February, so we've been flat out in the background for the last 4 months. So the concept of Yakka is about utilising your free time to have meaningful conversations. Our thought process primarily for a start has been agriculture. That's what we know and understand, and where the idea came from, but we think it's got to fit much wider than just agriculture. So this year we've had lower water allocation, so we haven't had as many crop hectares in and we've had a bit of time. So we decided to jump on and give it a crack. So what it looks like and feels like is a phone app where you create a profile. You can run an interesting little discussion point on there or something that you'd like to talk about or interests you or that you're curious about. And then when you're free to have a meaningful conversation with someone, you come online. And then when someone like me is about to jump in my car and drive 2 hours to Griffith, you know, I might jump on Yakka and scroll through and be like, oh man, this person wants to talk about netball. Man, I love netball. Bam. And I might know that person really, really well, and we just haven't spoken in ages, and it's just that prompt and that opportunity to capture us both when we've got time to have a meaningful conversation. Or it could be, you know, a neighbour that I've never met that all of a sudden we're seeing the same thing in a paddock, and, you know, he might put something about striped rust and I can be like, ring him and be like, dude, you're 10 Ks up the road. Like, what's going on? I'm here. This is where we're at. What are you doing? So yeah, it's all about building connection. And agriculture in particular is like, farming's a very lonely gig, particularly for a lot of the smaller family farms. You know, it's quite often dad and a son, or maybe a part-time workman, and you know, the highlight of their fortnight might be the agronomist coming or the bank manager coming out or whatever. And this for them, you know, they're sitting in a tractor harvesting or spraying or spreading or doing whatever. You know, their hands are busy but their mind is free. Well, why not connect with another farmer that's doing the exact same thing and have a really great conversation and you know, look after yourself without even knowing that you're doing it.
Where did you come up with that idea? I mean, it sounds amazing. And how many people are, like, do you measure the download of the app? Is that how that, when you have an app? So I know
yes.
It's February, so how's it going?
So we did a soft release at the start of June and our first full release on the 8th of June. As of last Thursday, we had 179 users on it, which is really exciting. We've got 4 foundational partners come in financially to help us take it to stage 2. So we've got a heap of ideas on how we're going to make it better and all this fun stuff that we want to put into it. But Heath and I invested a fair bit of cash to get stage 1 done, and we don't have infinite amounts of money. So we're just doing some capital raising now to try and take it to the next level. The reason that Yakka was started, or that we came up with it, was Heath and I spend a lot of time in the car. We drive at unusual hours, particularly in the summertime. You know, you might be in the car at 5:30, and we find each other annoying each other, flat out ringing each other, or you know, driving along thinking, oh, who can I ring now for the next hour while I'm driving around. And the other flip side of that is, you know, sometimes growers want to ring us and have really meaningful conversations around their business and or what they're doing, or a new idea. And if they ring us at the right time, I'll be like, look, mate, great idea, don't have time, ring me, I don't know, Friday afternoon when I'm poking around the farm or something. Whereas with this, they can see, oh, Emma's online, she must be driving between 2 farms or doing something like that, and they can actually capture me at a time when we can have more than a 5-minute conversation.
And you see those questions, Emma, how do you spell it? Yeah, there we go. Amy Snowden's Y-A-C-K-E-R, very good. Well, good luck with that. It sounds fantastic. And as you say, it's not just for ag folk, all right, so prediction, bit of foresight. Who's going to buy you out in 2 years' time? Like, who would pick that up? It's a bit like Yammer, isn't it, in big corporations, is they have something similar, and Slack. Watch out. Said that.
Well, Heath and I would love to meet Mark Zuckerberg, so we're hoping we might be able to, I don't know, it might take 5 or 10 years to get it in front of him, but we'll keep aiming.
So of the 20 people out there, you know, that I'd say 3 degrees separation, there'll be some connection to Mark. All right, so Cynthia, how are we going? Any questions popped up? I can see there's a couple in the Q&A. Do I keep going, or did you want to ask?
No. Nosh just had a question.
Hello, Nosh.
Have to. So Nosh says, Emma, what are your top 3 tips, which we'll get to at the end.
Yeah, we'll get to. Yeah.
But what's something that you'd have done differently if you knew then what you know now?
Look, I probably wouldn't have changed anything. The thing is, if once you change something in your past, you're not potentially going to end up where you are. And it's nice to look back and think, oh, I could have done this better and I could have done that better. But sitting and dwelling on all the mistakes you make, it doesn't really get you anywhere. You're best to just leave it in the past. And I really value every mistake, every tough time, you know, when I've busted myself, because all of that has led me to a place now where I'm starting to feel like I understand myself and I understand my work-life integration a lot better. And I'm really, really grateful for every single one of those experiences. So to be honest, I don't, this is probably as soppy as it sounds, I don't think I'd actually change anything at all.
And then if I take you back to when you became emotional in a video where you had a redundancy in the workplace, has that been then really a springboard for life for you in business?
Yeah, look, when I got shifted, when the business got sold, mentally that put me in a really bad place. It put me in a situation that I didn't want to be in, with people I didn't really know.
Sorry, Emma, can I just ask you, just for those listening, can you just provide a little bit of context to that situation? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. So I was working out at a corporate farm which got sold to another company, obviously. We ran out of water and I was shifted to some of their farms that was in hay. And that wasn't by my choice. That was with the sale of the business and out of my control. It was very difficult because I'd said right from the start that I didn't want to end up there with the new owners, and still ended up there, which was, it is what it is. And so jumped into it, trying to be the best version of myself, and failed very successfully at that. So it was a very, very tough summer, working for people that I wasn't really personality-wise compatible with. I definitely didn't have the maturity to understand the bigger picture of the situation that I was in, and then subsequently took a lot of things pretty hard and to heart. And the culmination at the end, after being what I felt like was undermined and ridiculed and made to feel fairly useless in my role, was that I was given the option basically of take a redundancy or be sacked. And that was because they restructured the business. It was nothing that I did. They just didn't see the value in having an on-farm agronomist anymore. So yeah, that was pretty hard, and that's pretty hard on your well-being. I was very stressed. I lost a lot of weight. Went through a breakup at the same time, so it's that snowball effect of just one thing after another. And at the time, yeah, it felt pretty disastrous. But on reflection, you know, it really highlighted some of the things that I had done well previously, like building my networks, staying in touch with people, communication skills, all of that sort of stuff. To basically springboard me into my next role, which eventually led us to starting Summit Ag, which was, yeah, phenomenal.
And what lesson did you take out of that whole situation into your last 3 years in business? What's been a big lesson from that?
Look, number one, networks. Networks, not what you know, it's who you know. Whether you need information, advice, or a shoulder to cry on, you know, they're all there somewhere. And don't be afraid to expand outside your bubble. Like, it's easy to get caught in, oh, you know, I'm an agronomist, so I need to network and have this amazing network of agronomists. But, you know, some of the best people in my life are business managers in, you know, stuff that I know nothing about. And to be honest, they're some of the people that give me the best advice, because they can look at it with fresh eyes and from a different perspective. So that's probably number one. Yeah.
And what about, I picked up a quote, I can't remember who said it, but it was about, it said, keep growing. A few things stretch you like growing leaders. Are you in what you're doing, are you growing leaders in being do you see yourself as a role model, or, you know, committees, things that you're involved in? Do you feel that you're growing other people to be leaders?
Yeah, look, that is an internal battle that I've been having for a long time. Like, I've always just looked at me as being me and put my hand up and being part of it. But the older that I get and the more self-aware that I get, the more that I am realizing that there are other people watching, and it's the people that you don't even know that are there that are watching. So I am becoming a lot more conscious that I am potentially having an effect on people that I'm not even really aware of, which is a pretty daunting thing to think, oh God, there's people that actually look up to me and want to be like me. Like, this is weird. But I think that we are, particularly with my involvement with the Young Farming Champs, we've been developing leaders, and I've been really proud to work with Jo, who you had on last week. She's been a massive inspiration to me, and I've been really proud to work alongside her now for a couple of years and now take on the chair role, which is really exciting. In our local community, I've just started, or about 18 months ago, started a group called the Tully Young Farmers, in recognition that we're going through an interesting change out here at Tullabajul, where we've got a lot of sons coming back to the farm. It's that next generation changeover, and trying to build a network for them, between each other, between their uncles or neighbours or whoever. And for people like me, that's essentially just bought my first farm. It's one thing to be an agronomist, it's another thing to put your money where your mouth is, and it's been the best experience for me to go and do it, and then I can go and say, oh, do this, and then when they question me, I'm like, mate, I did it on my farm. Like, don't argue, just if you want to see what it does, like, just drive down the road, you can see what we've been doing. And that's been phenomenal, and just leading by example. But yeah, it's certainly not something that I'm comfortable with, or that I'm fully I think I've fully appreciated yet, but yeah, it's definitely something that's coming to light.
Sounds absolutely like a leader speaking. It oozes out of you, and it's those people that say they're probably not a leader. They are the leaders because they get on and do it, and then people are standing in the background. So I'm just wondering, Cynthia, any questions? Just mindful of the time.
Yeah, no. I'm asking people if they've got any questions. So if you would like to ask Emma a question, please type it in the chat box. Emma, I have a question. So you've spoken about the importance of the network. So it sounds like you're creating a bit of your own network as well through initiating things like Yakka and your Tully Farmers Group. Have you had mentors? How important have they been in your development in the ag sector? And what would your tips to other young people, or even not young people, even just other people kind of wanting to find their voice?
So I've never had a formal mentor as such. I have put my hat in the ring and been successful into getting into some leadership programs, which helps to upskill you. It gives you a lot of those tools around self-awareness and that sort of thing, and connects you with people that more often than not inadvertently become a mentor, even if not formally. I've been really lucky to work for some truly fabulous people that I'm very privileged now to call friends, even though I don't work for them anymore, with a lot more experience than I do, and a wonderful relationship where they'll be extremely blunt to me. We can have those really blunt, open, honest conversations, and they're happy to call out what I'm doing wrong and give me the kick up the butt and the push in the right direction when I need it. And I think it's really important that in your network you identify those people that you can have those conversations with, and don't necessarily always look up. Don't be afraid to look across, because there's lots of people within your own demographic and your own age bracket even that are just killing it in things that you're not. So reach out to them and share skills and bounce off each other and grow together. I think that's really important.
And what about you finding your own voice? How's that gone for you? Or you think always had it, or?
Believe it or not, I sit right on the cusp of an extrovert and introvert. I definitely have my introvert days, and I'm getting better and better at putting on the brave front and just jumping into situations. The Young Farming Champs program and Lynn and her team have definitely been invaluable in helping me find my voice. The training and the skill set and the confidence and opportunities has been, just beyond words how helpful that has been. Providing that environment to fail and fail safely and grow is definitely been a big part of my journey. But my favorite quote is, I believe in luck just as much as the next person. I'm just not willing to wait for it. And as such, I've been, pushing myself into situations that make me uncomfortable and all of that sort of stuff. And I think biting the bullet and putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation and failing miserably and standing up, brushing yourself off and going again definitely helps build your resilience and helps you to not be so scared to have a voice.
Terrific. And Joyce just said it's been a privilege. She thinks the same. It's been a privilege to get to know you and work alongside you over the last few years. The peer-to-peer mentoring among the Young Farming Champions alumni is a highlight for me. Now, a couple more questions. Susie wants to know, who's inspired you in your journey?
Look, it'd be some of the amazing people that I've worked with. There's way too many people to name, but there's one person that always comes up for me, and that's Rob Lowe, who was our farm manager out at Tandau, who just epitomizes a leader to me, and is someone that I really do aspire to have his level head, and people skills and the ability to build relationships like him. And once again, he's one of those people I still feel really lucky to call a friend. There's so many people within the Young Farming Champs network that I'm just watching kick goals and being involved with them for the last 5 years and watching people grow and change. And yeah, that's been absolutely phenomenal to vibe off them. And Heath, my business partner, and Craig, my life partner, are both pretty inspiring people. So yeah, that's been amazing.
It's really great to surround yourself with awesome people, isn't it? It just lifts you even more, I think. Helps you grow. So Virginia said she has to leave early, but really inspiring to hear your story. Emma, love your honesty. Agree about the vital importance of communication. Thank you. Sally wants to know, what advice would you give a younger Emma?
Don't be so blunt. I definitely a softening and with my self-awareness and can pick myself or pull myself up a lot better than I could even 5 years ago. Definitely rub people up the wrong way and all of that sort of stuff. Probably a big thing. And the second thing would be don't take everything personally. You don't know what's going on in people's lives behind closed doors that you can't see, and it quite often reflects on how they behave in their outside world, and you sometimes have to be able to take a breath and just separate that and call it a bad day and move on. Don't hold that grudge.
Terrific. And Arfa says, very engaging discussion. So she understands you've never had any mentor, but when you were growing up, role models, were there any role models you had?
Oh, my parents are phenomenal people. Yeah.
Why is that, Em?
Just hardworking, seeking opportunities, pushing the boundaries, being open and honest. Like, we're really lucky. My family's very open and honest, and I can talk to my parents like I could talk to my best friend, and we can vibe off each other and share challenges. And that's definitely something that I've carried through into my adult life. But like, I've watched mum and dad go through hardships and struggles and move around with us kids and homeschool us and support us on our journeys. And yeah, absolutely, my parents, 100%.
Fabulous. And Louise, top 3 tips?
Yeah, so top 3, Emma, we ask all our special guests every week. We've been accumulating a top 3. We've had a few one-offs, haven't we, occurring through these. The last couple of weeks ago, Lisa shared a recipe because we talked about diet. So what are your top 3 for our well-being, Emma?
Make sure you make space for the things that you like. For me, that is exercising, and actually really enjoy sewing, but I don't do enough of it. And make space for that in your life, and book. In my calendar, I book in nothing time. So I don't plan anything, but I book in time to do nothing or do sewing or go gardening or whatever takes my fancy, some spontaneity in a very structured calendar, which my life is. So that's really, really important. Make sure that you've got a beautiful network of people that you can have those open and honest conversations when things do start to unravel and you can feel your life starting to get a bit hectic. And make sure you've got them from all different walks of life, and just listen to the advice they give you, because you find little gems in there everywhere all the time. And number 3 would be know your red flags. Know when you're eating too many hot chips and things are starting to go south. And the sooner that you can start to understand yourself and how you operate, and those red flags, the sooner you can pull up and not get to that really negative space. So the reason my office is painted is because I took last week off because I was getting a lot of red flags in my life. And we weren't that busy, and I could easily structure that in, and I needed some downtime. So I took a week off to paint my office.
And how do you feel now when you look around?
I'm so happy. I live in this office with everything that I do, and I'm studying again because I'm a sucker for punishment. So this is like probably the room I spend the most amount of time in. So nice, so nice to have my space, and I knew that my week off worked because I woke up excited to go to work at 3 a.m. Monday morning and couldn't go back to sleep, so got up and started.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that physical space that we're in? It's super important. So well done. Well done, Emma, for recognising where you were at and doing something about it. So, Louise, we've got 5 minutes. So any further questions, just keep them coming. We've got a couple of minutes. But Nosh says he'd love to stay in touch with everyone, and so he's got a little link there for people to connect with him. And we must remember to take our photo, which we'll do in a moment. But hopefully, for those people who have been with us along the journey of Wellbeing Wednesday, you will have received a survey this week. We've done 15 episodes of Wellbeing Wednesday, and as Louise said at the beginning, we started it at the start of lockdown thinking we didn't know where it was headed, but we thought it would be a good thing to do to bring people together to learn about the wisdom from rural, regional and remote women, but have rural, urban men, women, whoever is interested in wellbeing join in the conversation to listen to the wellbeing wisdom. And we thought 15 episodes, we would send you out a survey just to get a bit of a sense of how it's worked for you. What's happened? What have you enjoyed? What's perhaps not working? Because we're thinking, where do we take it? Louise and I love it. It's our highlight for the week. But we also just want to know that it's serving you, that it's serving the audience. So we've sent you a survey. Please fill it in because that will really help us. And also, what am I trying to say? Next week, we're actually just going to have a bit of a chat. So we're not having a guest next week. We're going to just get Louise and I and whoever wants to come on with us, give you some feedback from the survey and a bit of a discussion about where to from here. And we also will break you up into, run it as a meeting. So we'll break you up into little groups, and you can do a little bit of work on your wellbeing as well. So it'll be a semi-workshop, semi-feedback. But we definitely will be continuing it, and we have got a guest lined up for the week after next, and that is Ayliffe Khan from Gippsland. Ayliffe is one of our frequent flyers, and she's the chair of now Ayliffe, I'm going to get the name wrong, the Muslim Women's Fellowship Group in Gippsland. I know that's not quite right, I'm really sorry. But Ayliffe is a great woman who does, thank you, Ayliffe, United Muslim Sisters of Latrobe Valley. Thank you, Ayliffe. So she's the chair of that as well. She does so much awesome work in the community. So we're going to really look forward to hearing from Ayliffe the week after next. So hope you can join us next week for a bit of just a check-in, Louise.
Just make a point there. So we will be all faces, won't we? So no bed hair allowed. Leisure wear on the top. You can wear leisure wear on the bottom, but yeah, you'll be on screen.
Yep, definitely. One message that's come through in the feedback that we've got so far is maybe just a little bit shorter, so that people have got a chance to perhaps, rather than finishing at 2 on the dot, and people often have to go to something else, maybe we could finish a little bit early to give people an opportunity to get to where they need to go or have some downtime. I think with Zoom, we're hearing just people have really lost that downtime that they had traveling and being able to perhaps, if you're in an office, walk to a different meeting room. We've got back-to-back Zoom meetings. So people are finding they thought they'd have all this downtime, but they're actually doing more work than ever. And they're not getting a break. So we don't want to contribute to that. So I think we'll press stop we'll stop recording now. Kevin says, great stuff, Emma. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us. And we'll continue our chat offline. So if you want to hang around and have a bit more of a chat for 15 minutes or so, please do. And Charlie's just said you have to put a bra on. That's good. Nosh is going to put a wig on. So we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
And thank you, Emma. Thanks
Emma, so much. And